broadcasting live out of a basement in Appleton, Wisconsin. You're tuned into Fox City's Core on WCZR Code Zero Radio. We're the show that gives you an opportunity to call in and be a part of the show. Our call-in line is 920-358-0795. Core. Appleton media giant Len Nelson referred to these guys as the Fox Valley musical legends and golden gods of the local and regional scene in the later 80s to mid-90s. Within the last year, the band has made a significant portion of their music available on the streaming sites for the whole world to enjoy. They're back together this morning to reminisce on their career. I'd like to welcome Rebel Waltz to Fox City's Core. How are you guys doing this morning?
Good. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Andy.
Do you still like getting together?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, very much.
Oh, yes. Still playing.
Sometimes we play music, too.
Me and Dave still playing. Me and him have been sitting on bar stools next to each other a few times.
Keep practicing things we're good at.
So, I guess the people watching, if they're not familiar with Rebel Waltz, let's kind of go down the line and introduce like your name and what you do in the band.
Okay. Tim Beekler, singer, bass player, sometimes songwriter.
Some good ones, too.
Thank you.
Jeff DeGoey, guitar, singer, if you want to call it that. Childhood friend of Tim's.
Jeff Verner, guitar player, singer. I joined after they were born.
Dave Moore, drummer. Don't sing. Don't write songs.
Liar.
Don't play guitars.
Liar!
Technically untrue, because you did sing on Have Another
That's
Beer.
true, I did.
And,
Maybe it's just better at you.
It's better you do. You wrote about with your dad.
Yeah.
So when did the band officially start? Like, did you guys know each other in school, or did you know each other from previous bands?
Jeff and I have known each other since kindergarten, and we were in bands since junior high. As far as the start of Rebel Waltz, I'll try to keep it short, but Jeff went to UWO, got in a band with Dave.
Moral discussed,
and I stayed back at home, and I just started writing songs, and my brother was looking for a band name, and I mentioned Rebel Waltz to him. He didn't like it, but I did, so I kept it for my own songwriting's sake, and that went on for a couple years, and I think January of '86, Jeff came over on a super snowy day, similar to last weekend, and we knocked off a couple songs that I had written, and it kind of was the beginning of the band. Went through a couple lineup changes, and Dave finally joined in. We were a trio for a short while, and then we met up with JJ. Our friend Sal kind of mutually introduced us to each other, and this is probably the lineup that I guess we're best known for. There were a couple little things in between, but it was minor, so.
Joe Van Domelen drummed on the first Dr. Gene Scott record. And these guys were a band together before. When we were bands in high school, they were
We were in bands in high school. We also have been friends since grade school.
Right?
We played on the same
Football team.
Y football team, things like that.
When the idea was brought up to bring JJ in the band, Dave said he needed more Oshkosh in the band because he was surrounded by the Kimberly guys.
Were you guys known primarily like as an Oshkosh scene band, or just a Fox Cities band in general?
When we were playing?
Even though we grew up in Kimberly, I would say we were Oshkosh band.
Labeled Oshkosh because
Yeah.
we spent most of the time there.
We were all living there at the time, so yeah, I would say under the Oshkosh umbrella.
Oh, I did it.
I missed that.
You said
I didn't do it.
you said the band got together, like, or you knew of each other in high school. When you were going through the high school years, were there a lot of bands in the scene?
Well, there used to be a periodical, or whatever you want, fanzine out of Milwaukee, and they wrote an article about us, and they called it Swimming Against the Stream in the Fox Valley, because there really wasn't that much the world thought, right? There was the Felons and the Twisted Egyptians and
The Rock and
Fun with Adams.
all kinds of stuff, but that it didn't really go outside of the area, so they thought we were the only one, but we weren't.
No.
We weren't.
And you guys started off writing originals, or did you do cover songs when you first got together?
No, original music right from the start. And when I was in my dorm room, Tim would come down, Dave would be there, other people that we were hanging around with. We'd just even record them on a boombox, kind of the genesis of playing together again.
Yep.
So we had done Etc. in high school, and then when I was gone, like he said, then he kept coming down and drinking beer and working on songs. Eventually, he was the band.
And then how long until you recorded your first album?
If your notes are right on Spotify, you have us down as September of '86.
For the Dr. Gene Scott record.
Yeah, so that would be 8 months after we started it.
It went fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was with Joe Van Dommelen and Jeff Preby, who was in a high school band with the two of us and was Jeff's dorm mate at the time at UWO. So that was the original lineup that did the original EP that we recorded at Dynamic in Neenah. And after that, the lineup changed quite a few times until we finally got this awesome lineup.
And Jeff made a lot of the music available on Spotify
Yes,
over the
thank
last
you.
year, which had to be quite the chore.
It was. That was insane. It was a chore.
Cheers.
I mean, you were more or less archiving the band in a way, because you can put in the release date, like Tim kind of asked when he put it in. So you're more or less creating the history of the band. You could have put in whatever you wanted for release dates.
Well, there was a bit of that too, right? What month did it actually come out? Well, it was fall of '86.
That's pretty close.
But this is funny, right? We got the distro kid to put it online, and we started putting him on in January. Me and my wife, get all the master put together. Had to have all the wave files and the cover art and all that. Did one a week between Catastrophe and the DeGoey Moore Band and Rebel Waltz and whatever the other stuff that I've done. It took all the way until like the middle of summer before they all came out. One a week. That's how many there are between it all. There's all kinds of them.
Were there people that were asking if you had a copy of this album or that album, and did that?
I still get that from time to time, and I've got, maybe we all do. I've got boxes in storage of maybe one or two copies of some stuff and one particular CD, which there's still a lot of. But yeah, we still do get that question from time to time. And
everybody always wanted me and Silent Jesus Christ, because I was only on tape initially, and so that one, a lot of people were really happy to get it on the internet now.
Well, and you listed that came out in 1988.
1988,
Yep.
I was right. That's right when he joined up. JJ was largely, with my certain style, I made him play the tambourine.
We had to ease into it.
He played a lot of tambourine on that record, and some guitar, but a lot of tambourine.
And
So that was right when he joined.
The tambourine's an instrument.
You were good at it, too. You made it an instrument.
Your experience at Dynamic Sound, so that was your first studio experience, right? The first time you were in a professional studio, or how was it set? Was it a professional studio? I should start out asking.
Was it more professional than UWO?
I wasn't there.
I know, but that's right. You were
I
there.
never made anything at
I wasn't
Dynamic.
with you, but I was in there, so I know what it
Yeah.
was like when you guys did it. And he had a decent setup for sure. He had
Yes.
a 16 track that I think had some provenance to going back to possibly, is that the one that drifted from Electric
I think so.
Ladyland?
Electric Ladyland?
I think so.
Electric Ladyland's original 16 track made it back to Oshkosh, or in the valley, and it was either at Dan Hetner's studio, that's where it was, or it was at UW Oshkosh in the recording program. I can't remember now which. But
I remember
that's true.
I remember that session largely because he had that stuff you spray in your mouth to make your throat not tingle. And we
that's the day we became pros.
we kept using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He left smelling like chloroseptic.
Our session started at noon, and I think we knocked off 10 songs by 5 o'clock,
Whoa!
right?
Right?
Did we mix them too? We might have.
I think we did. I don't ever remember going back.
Yeah, we'd played them so many times, we just boom, 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 knocked them off and ran with it. We're just so excited to be doing it, just...
Largely the same with all the records. We did Me and Sal and Jesus Christ that
Yeah.
way. We did
Yeah.
Vanessa Sessions that way. And to some extent, Rubber Walls, we did overdubs on that one, but largely played it live.
The thing with this band is that throughout the years, we had 3 pretty prolific songwriters. We always, up until the end, we were always an album ahead. By the time we had a record done, we already had almost the whole another one ready to go. And that, all the way till 96, it was that way. We had, when we split up, we had enough to probably knock another one off. But
it's a good point, too, because we would go, now we're going to go make the record. So we were always into all these new songs. So a lot of times there'd be songs that got left in the middle because they were after a record, but before the record. They were like already old ones, all those were 9 months old.
We had a chance to sign a record contract with an independent, and they wanted all the old songs like Jack and Caught, which we had run its course, and we were kind of moved on from there. And so when we said we really want to put the new songs on, not the old ones, and take a step backward, that was kind of the end of that. But, sometimes they want to go backwards, but we didn't want to.
No, and we didn't.
Nope.
He did buy us a dinner, though, in Chicago.
He did.
It was nice.
Oh, that first album, did you guys do any overdubs? I mean, that's a lot of songs to do in a short period of time, and obviously Pro Tools wasn't around yet.
I don't think there were any background vocals, just lead vocal, right?
Live.
Yeah. So, not that I remember.
Very little was done afterwards. I brought my wife with me to do the lead overdub on Coming True one night. It was like take 352. Nick said we have to go out and get coffee. And I like the one that I played down at the time better now.
So when that came out, did you guys just start playing, a lot of shows? Obviously, you get something recorded, you want to get it out there, being your first release. How did you promote it at the time?
Well, the truth of the matter is, it already happened because of the Dr. Gene Scott 45. We didn't particularly like the way that record sounded, but we gave it to some people, and it got to Keith Brammer from DeCreutzen, who was writing for a lot of newsprint, shall you say. And so Dr. Gene Scott went everywhere, and people were already ready for Jack and Caught, So the pump got primed immediately.
Yeah. It gave us a chance. We broke into Milwaukee pretty easily because we got great reviews, and when we got down there, we played pretty well and got to open up for some great bands, so the door opened up pretty easily for us down there, and we loved playing down there.
In many ways, we were the house band at the Unicorn.
Yeah, we were.
We played all the time.
Gus loved us.
We did.
We loved Gus.
We love Gus.
Gus never pulled a gun on us.
Nope.
The Unicorn, not there anymore. How many venues do you think you played at that are no longer music venues?
The Toad.
All of them.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Can
you think of any that are still around?
Our house gig's gone. It's a law firm again.
Right, Mongos.
Oh, yeah, Mongo's. We were a house band for a year there, every Wednesday night. Crazy.
So would Mongo's have been kind of home base? I know Fun with Adams, their home base was Lefties up in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. We played there a few times.
Mongo's was a weekly standing gig, which was a weird thing to come by for a band like us in the day. I still think about it. I think that was pretty bold of Tim to put that on up there, on a Wednesday night.
And it was packed almost every week.
Yeah.
And we basically took our set list and switched songs around just to be different. Other than that, it was the same songs for,
Fortunately, I think we had 109 songs.
We did.
At the time. So we had a lot of songs to play. We sometimes had, all right, so that Rubber Walls cover wasn't really that popular with me. So sometimes we would just play the whole time, right? Like, why would we take a break and go sit in the crowd, play for 3 hours?
Mm-hmm. There's one week where we were all extremely mad at each other. We got on stage. Everyone made it, and we played all night with no breaks. And just because if we would have stopped, we would have stopped.
Was that the night the beer glass flew?
Might have been.
That was a bottle. It wasn't a glass.
Okay. Well, you were the target. You would know.
No, I wasn't the target. I was the thrower.
Oh, you were the thrower.
Jeff was the target.
that way.
That's right. Okay.
It took an arc. It hit a light.
Yeah.
And it shattered. It was great. It was like performance art.
You quieted the place down a little bit.
You mentioned a Rebel Waltz cover. So the name Rebel Waltz, did that come from the this song?
The Clash song, yeah. Like I said, my brother wanted a band name, and I knew like Stiff Little Fingers and Madness. At that time, they took their names from other song titles, so I went through my record collection one day, like 83, 84, and saw that name, and it just kind of stuck with me, and he didn't like it, but I kept it because I don't know, it just stuck with me, I guess, and these guys are nice enough to take it on. And
It was too late by the
it was
time
too
we
late.
lined up.
Yeah, it's fact.
You had already decided.
Yeah.
We had a question submitted earlier. Questions for Jeff DeGoey. How did you get that otherworldly guitar sound back in the day? That's from longtime listener Blaine.
Well, that's a very interesting question.
Is that the rolling chorus?
Where does
In
it
the
start?
moral
Where does it
discussed,
start?
it was definitely the Rolling Jazz chorus. You know, I think the thing about it is, everybody just the way. If you get 50 guitar players play the same song, it's always going to be different, right? It's just the way it is, the way people play it, you know. And I always like to just attack the thing, you know. I kept a lot of strings on hand when I was playing a lot. Just keep piling strings on that thing and keep tearing them off. That's the best I got, man.
Your guitars weren't running to you for love.
Well, I guess in the Dean Markley amp too. Like, truth of the matter is, I walked into Gilmore Brothers and I had that jazz chorus, and the guy was playing Crazy Train. Kid was playing Crazy Train on that Dean Markley had, and well, when he's done, I'm like, I'll take it. The guy's like, you want to try it out? Oh no, I'm taking it. I heard that.
I like it.
That was it. Still have it.
Yeah.
Still using it on our new records.
Still have 3 of them.
3 of them now.
Wow. It is a signature part, for sure.
And how are the influences in the band? Jeff, you seem to have more of like the songs that you sing seem to be very like punk influenced. And Tim, to me, your songs seem more sort of pop rock.
Mm-hmm.
All the influences from the band obviously make Rebel Waltz, but how did you guys agree on melting those influences together?
Did we?
Yeah, did we?
I don't think we did. I think
It's
we
either a
just
good song
played
or a bad song.
and said, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
You know, grew up with him, and it's true, right? So he liked Madness, like you mentioned, and Squeeze,
Power pop.
that sort of thing. And for me, then it was always the more punk end of all that, you know. Not that he didn't like that too, and I didn't like some of that other stuff, but largely he was the Waltz part, and I was the Rebel part. Same with these two, kind of. Met Dave in college. Dave was.
He's the Lennon to my McCartney.
Yeah. I'm more of a metal punk rocker guy, and Jay is more of a pop dude, for
Yeah,
sure.
Definitely grew up in pop land.
So it worked out perfectly because we were 2 and 2, kind of, you know.
When I wrote on a bass because I can't play guitar. It saved my life to this day. So my parts would be on bass, and basically, here's the words and here's the root of it. Hand it to these guys and do what you want with it, So put it in their trusting hands, and they make it sound great, So the melody probably came from the original root note stuff and the chords and all that, and they embellish it however they want.
You always had more of a sense of what the percussion would be on your songs too. Like for me, they're basically folk songs. I have no idea what the drum's going to play, but a lot of times you had an idea.
Somewhat, but
minor idea.
Dave has always had. What I love about Dave is Dave would take a part and make it his own. So everyone really contributed to the songwriting, even though might have my name on it because I did the root of it, but everyone really is responsible.
Were there ever any arguments as far as maybe pushing back on Dave playing too metal of a...
No. I'm not that stupid. I understand what Tim's trying to achieve. Now I'm not going to play something ridiculous that doesn't fit. That's what I try to do anyway. We never had that problem.
No.
We were all hearing the same song.
They would bring someone would bring a song in, and we'd just play it, and then we'd decide if it was a good song or not. Based on that, we didn't, argue about it. But most of them were good songs, as far as I remember. I don't think we ever trashed a song completely and said, "We're not doing that one."
Right. I think mostly in my thought, the whole thing, like when you get them recorded, then you're like, oh no, we can't put Monday Morning on the record because then we're going to run around the rest of our life playing Monday Morning.
And we're going to have a sax player.
I know. So kind of like, not a bad song, but didn't really want to be like, the punk versus pop thing, right? Didn't really want to be known. It was obviously one of your best songs, and it could have been a
It's funny you mention that because we played a gig in Green Bay one time, quick story, and we got done, we went to Norb's apartment. He was upstairs above, and someone decided to play Vanessa Sessions after. This is like a Green Bay punk party, and they throw on Vanessa Sessions, and on Monday Morning comes on, and I'm just like really uncomfortable with it playing. It's like this, no, this isn't really not fitting the vibe here, the party vibe.
Check it out on Spotify.
Right.
I do play alto sax on that song.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You should take good credit for that.
I played in high school, so it took all of 5 minutes to burn out that solo. Super simple.
But you compose the nice thing. Yeah. It's a nice part.
It's really good too.
Yeah,
amazingly good.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So you mentioned Reverend Norb. You've known him a long time.
Yeah.
So he's the only outside musician to play on a Rebel Waltz album. You mentioned your wife saying though, so that can't be true unless it's.
She's not a musician.
No.
At the time, she wasn't. She is now. She's in our band.
Yes.
And does a great job.
How did the guitar solo? And it might not have been. Was it Norb that did the guitar on the Meatman True Grit cover?
No, that was me that played on the Boris the Sprinkler record.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So
It was the other
let me
way
change
around.
it. It was the other way around, right?
Right.
So you're the only one that played on the only outside person playing a Boris the Sprinkler album.
That's what he said. Yep. And
Okay.
thank you, Norm.
So obviously they hired you for some guitar gunslinging, which
We played a lot of shows with Deborah Provera back in the day. Had a lot of good. Dave had a farm out in the country, right? Throw a big party a couple years in a row. Have those guys would come and play. Deborah Provera, Reverend Norb. It's great, fantastic thing.
Great shows.
So did they have you play with them at all at any of the shows after that?
No, I never got to play with them live.
Did you go critique how Paul or whoever was playing the guitar was doing your part?
Stand right in front of him, arms crossed.
I think I got a 12-pack of Olympia for that one.
So then you guys, you mentioned the Vanessa Sessions. That was, according to Jeff, 1988.
It was 1988.
Okay. And then
Right after, too.
Right after.
Also, because we did all the songs we had as me and Selling Jesus Christ. And 4 months later, we had a whole nother record, now with him fully integrated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that kind of led us up to the seminal record, Rubber Walls,
Yep.
which, can you tell me a little bit about that process as far as writing for that album? Was the recording process different than your previous albums? Any stories or anecdotes from around that time period that you care to share?
Go for it.
Well, some of it we already had, right, on Vanessa Sessions. And so we recorded 18 songs. And we went to a real studio this time, Madison Street Studios with Nick Kasilka in Waupun. So that was a big step up.
Yep.
He did a really great job and let us do what we wanted to. I think he liked what we were doing.
Yeah.
He didn't know what he was in for, and once we got to know him and work with him a little bit, he really warmed up, and we had a really great relationship with Nick.
He was a real engineer, so he saw us as a very fascinating thing.
Yeah.
So a lot of the songs, did you have to change them in the studio, or were you up to the last minute during revisions?
I think the only one was Have Another Beer, which is a piece of music JJ wrote. And then Tim had kind of like made up words live on stage, and you guys sat there and hashed out that whole version that's on the internet now, which is great. Dave Moore, lead vocals.
Yeah.
Well, at this point, you're pretty comfortable with the studio, I'm guessing, because you'd released so many things prior.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the cover for Rubber Walls.
Good idea.
Kind of a...
Here it goes.
So the original cover was different. We'll get to when it was re-released, but it was eventually re-released. But go back to 1990. The cover is kind of a rubber wall with somebody kind of pressing into it. It's kind of creepy. I mean, like, what was the initial reaction when that album came out?
Can I tell a story out of school? You know the first Boomtown Rats record cover, right? Everyone has seen this. Bob Geldof, Under the Plastic, same color scheme across the thing. I'm like, okay, well, no, this isn't going to work. But anyways, it does. And it comes back, and I go to Summerfest. Hi, Tom Smith. And walk through the gate of Summerfest, and Tom Smith walks up to me. He's like, Jeff, got the record. Really like it. It's destined straight for the cutout bin with that cover. Quote. Which is exactly what I was thinking.
And that was originally released on vinyl?
And cassette.
And cassette.
The cassette cover's good.
Cassette's got the fish, which was the original plan.
So back then, in 1990, you could have probably walked into the Exclusive Company and picked up a copy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I worked at Exclusive Company. I was running it at that time, so I was in with distributors and was able to get distribution for it. We walked into Reckless in Chicago, and they had it up on the wall as one of their picks. It's like that was a pretty cool feeling.
Same thing at the Mystery Train in Boston. Went
Yeah.
in there one day. It was Ken Chambers. The Ken Chambers was listening to it.
So at that point, how was the band, besides Dave, being a full-time member now, how was the band different from when you guys started? At this point, you're about 5 years in.
As far as members go, or
Well, just as far as your direction and the type of shows you were playing, your connections.
we were playing a lot around here at the time, and having JJ fully in the band, everything felt solid and whole, I guess.
We had a PA, so we could play everywhere.
Our PA helped.
Thanks to Jay.
Thanks to Jay, we got a lot of. Hey, you guys want to play a gig? Yeah, can you bring the PA too? It's like,
Yeah, that helped us
Yeah.
sometimes.
I found the old calendar, and in like 89, we played 100 and whatever it was, one shows. Now, you think about that, there's only 365 days in a year, And we practiced every week, too.
Yep.
We never stopped practicing.
Well, it's not like you had roadies, so you're hauling gear out of a house into a car, out of a car into a venue, out of the venue into the car,
Up the
Our
stairs.
practice
That guy.
room was upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, when I
that was
got
torture.
in the band, I was running mainstream music, and one of the first things I noticed was we didn't really have a consistent rehearsal kind of set up yet or anything. So that was one thing I set to my mind to get set up, was a way to rehearse. And found the empty room upstairs of the store and made an offer to the landlord of, can I have that place? Sure, what do you want to give me? I give you $20 a month.
And that's what
That
it
was the
was.
birth of the Garage in the Sky.
Yeah.
Any mishaps taking the gear down or up the steps? Any injuries?
Strangely, no, not that I remember you.
Well, you had your hip replaced, so
Well, I did have
over the
that.
long haul, there's some damage.
Good point.
Yeah.
So Tommy John said you had a PA as long as I wasn't blowing speakers.
Or somebody.
Yeah. We had a lot of cones,
Hey, Tom.
recones going on.
We were popular with the Reconer.
We were
yeah.
playing a lot, and we were going through a lot of speakers for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of strings, a lot of speakers, a lot of brain cells, and one hip.
So you guys you did Rubber Waltz down in Madison, and then you went to Smart Studios the next year and recorded there. So you were kind of down in the Madison, hitting the studios down in Madison. Was that?
Oh, we did Madison Street Studios, and that was
Yes.
That's in
Waupun.
Waupun.
On.
so that's where Rubber Walls was, and then we did Smart
Last
for the
One
EP,
to Die.
Last One to Die. Yeah.
What got you into Smart? I know you were there approximately a year after Nirvana did their demoing there.
We were there while Smashing Pumpkins were doing a record because we tracked and then we had to wait to finish it.
We actually had our studio day bumped by Billy Corgan because he was feeling it that day. So Billy, you and I still have. Billy and I still have issues.
Because you were feeling it too that day.
Yeah, it was. But
Set us
now,
back.
not $1 million budget feeling it.
No, right.
So at the time, the Pumpkins were kind of building a buzz. Did you know you knew who they were when you were
Yeah.
down there?
Yeah, they were. I knew of the buzz just from working at the store, and so it's a very exciting album to be coming out for them. But
I think that was Gish.
it was Gish, yep. And my favorite story about those recording sessions were, hey, you guys want to know about the sound? You know, the drum sound. How we get the drum sound, the grungy drum sound? It's nothing but this long 10-foot tube.
Yeah.
10-foot tube coming out of the kick drum. That's grunge right there, this big long grunge tube.
Tube of like foam, right?
Extension.
Yeah,
with a mic at the end.
foam
of it.
insulated bass drum extension,
Right.
basically.
So that's what the Pumpkins were using when you
Yep.
said? Did you take a lot of pictures while you were there? Did you
We
take any
didn't.
pictures?
I don't know. I can't think of any.
I can't think of any.
No.
No.
I have a picture in my head, though, of Dave walking in and we were mixing it. It's a beautiful sunny day. Door was open. He said, "Is that the mix?" He used an expletive, but he didn't think it sounded very good.
Well, we had a little bit of problems too with the other high tech or the high caliber technique or whatever that they were using with the spot erasing was popular at that time, going in between any track and erasing all
yeah.
noise.
Yeah.
So this was another thing that Butch Vig had kind of was, I guess, real into for creating these clean recordings. And so this Brian was doing that for us, but he spot erased most of the beginning of the song of the drums parts for Clear the Air.
Clear the air.
Yeah.
And then Masterful Dave had to recreate the part
Yeah,
outside of the original track, so that was a major repair.
that's next to impossible.
But Dave had proven it. I was not feared because the very first recording I remember doing with Dave on 4-track, he played all the drum parts by himself first, and we were singing along and we went through it. And then we added guitars and bass and everything else.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that was in Smart Studios. That was the old room before they remodeled it
Yes.
downstairs. Have you been back there since you recorded?
I hadn't. I don't know about you guys. No.
Nope.
No.
All in all, it wasn't necessarily a great experience for us. I think the sound was a little too big. You know, it didn't allow our music to kind of be what it was.
And those songs were new. So I don't know that they were totally developed where they could have been yet. And some of them maybe. But
So I've got to ask. I'll hand this over. I love the fact that
Thanks, Mark Hillstrom. Mark Hillstrom released that. Rose
Hey.
Records.
yeah,
I
thank you,
love
Mark.
that inside the record panel there.
Right here?
Yeah, your merchandise. It tells exactly how many copies of certain things you have left for sale. Which
Oh, does it?
Which is probably how many we have now.
Inventory management.
Only 25 left. And I would say there's probably maybe 18 left from this day. So it has gone down a little bit. That's funny. That's funny stuff.
so Mark Hillstrom
33
did the
years.
artwork. He did the photography in the layout, or just the photography.
Mark shot the cover, and my wife Bo shot the band photograph. And Mark was the label, so he released it. So practice room. Do you want to know what it looked like when we were hanging around in there with all our cool posters? Yes.
I found some of those promo shots. That was an 8x10 too. A promo.
Yep, that's right. There was.
So you were really taking a chance by putting how many copies were available.
I mean, yeah, it's less than 25. I mean, you got to hurry up and grab them.
Well,
Don't sit on the fence too long.
to backtrack too, we did Jack and Caught, right? And then there was a 45 in Germany of Highway of Doom and Umbrella.
Yeah.
And it was soon to be rare. There was 500 total copies. And so we never even seen, probably more than 40 amongst ourselves here.
Yep.
So that was always rare.
Did merchandise like records and cassettes sell well in the early 90s? I mean,
We watched our friends sell a lot of stuff.
Other people were having success.
They sold T-shirts. We gave it all away. Like
Right.
we didn't charge anybody for it. Oh, have our new record here. All right, have a T-shirt too.
well, so you guys were spending quite a bit of money probably recording and then just giving it away. So I guess it's promotion, if anything.
Yeah.
But
Well, we had managed to earn a little money regularly somewhat, so that always stayed in quota band fund, so we kind of consider that money to be burned up.
Yep. we never lost.
Nope.
We never made.
Nope. We didn't have to dig in our pockets to keep going.
Nope.
In 93, according to Jeff's Spotify discography, there was a split with the Lost Toothbrushes, which I know was a band in Oshkosh that got together for Water City Racket.
Yep.
Some time ago.
Last year, 2 years ago?
COVID year.
Right before COVID year.
So with the split, was that recorded and then just 50-50 as far as you guys went in with the Lost Toothbrushes and then released that as a
Who
split?
came up with that idea?
Well, we were
I
talking about.
I was out, so.
Well, it was about we did that before we did the Topsoil, right?
Yep.
Because we were talking about CD, was the way to get on CD, but the cost was kind of like really something a hurdle at that time to get over producing CDs. So I mean, if I thought of it, it was just simply a lot based on that, and it went. I don't remember. I don't really remember big.
You guys have
We
this
just
much
kinda,
money,
yeah.
we got this much money.
Yeah,
That's
you
just
guys-
enough to pay for one.
Both had records done, and we could fit them on one CD, and it, it was unique at the time because remember that provided an opportunity to go down and sit in on what radio station was Marilyn Me?
Oh, Milwaukee?
She thought that she had us in based for that CD to talk about this whole concept of two bands on one CD.
Oh, nice.
That was what the main thing was about it, was that it was so unique that she thought it was cool.
Were we invited?
I can't remember which commercial radio station, like LZR or not.
Oh, that could be.
Emmett. I remember her name was Marilyn Me, though.
I know she wasn't with MSC, but
No, not MSC.
Blaine, we need your help.
Crazy to think how like expensive CDs were when they came out, and now you can get them for $1 a piece if you're ordering them. But as the band moved on, you said you were giving away a lot of stuff. Was making product a priority, or was it shows over recording? Did you guys-
Making music was the priority. That's why it was free. We didn't want to sit there, give us $15 for our record. We're like, here, have more songs because there's more coming all the time. That was 100% the priority.
And then eventually you guys released Fearless Leader Plus 7. Any stories or anecdotes for that album?
Well, so on the split CD with the Lost Toothbrushes, I was out of the band at the time, and Gordy Volkman played guitar, did a really nice job. And then Dave left while I was gone, and me and Dave started doing Moral Disgust again. And so then these guys asked me if I'd come back to Rebel Waltz, And so then Scott Brown was drumming with us. And JJ was now, his studio was full for him, so we were doing that recording there. And many recordings after that there, too.
That was Topsoil? Was the name of that?
One thing you got to know about him is he probably recorded like 500 bands there. The tape vault was every band. Like everybody recorded there. I don't know how you had that much time.
I don't either, because I was running the store too, remember?
And playing the gigs.
I don't either. I don't understand it.
Ring bell for service.
Yeah. Running up and down the stairs, duplicating
Back in
cassettes. Then run downstairs to sell a guitar and go back up and check if the cassettes were duplicating.
Sounds like a busy time for you, JJ.
Yeah, and then I got into the CDR production too, which was, another whole level of crisis, really. But
Yeah, because there was the Topsoil comp that came out 91.
92.
And 3.
And 3,
And
2
3.
years. 92, like after we did the split CD, the concept of, everybody getting on a compilation idea, Mark Hillstrom was heavily involved in that, and then we just kind of cooked up the idea and just kind of put out feelers. It just came up with the idea of how to put it together. It was like, $100 a band, that will give us $1,000 if we get 10 bands.
And the scene was so rich with great bands in the Valley and Green Bay, Milwaukee. It was really a great time for it to happen.
They were just beating down the doors to do it. Really, it kind of, we called who we thought of, and then everyone was hearing about it, and there was more bands than we could really put on, but it expanded up to whatever. We filled up the whole disc and just did it where you could come in and do, for $100 you got on the disc and you got 100 copies or something, we just kind of made it a whole package deal so that it would disseminate itself.
and it worked out well. Went through a couple thousand of those because the hype was pretty good. There hadn't been a compilation released. I think, although we didn't get credit, I think we beat the Milwaukee first compilation, the Super Bowl, right? Time-wise?
Probably.
But that was a pretty quick thing that happened after that, was the Super Bowl was out from Milwaukee. That was just mostly Milwaukee bands, and ours covered the whole state. And then we did 93, but that didn't really have the buzz. By that point, it was a little less novel.
It's amazing how quickly things change in music. Change is always coming.
And you guys, then you had 24 titles, then you had Beekler Campfire Stories.
Which is basically 80% what would have been the next Rebel Waltz record. I mean, a lot of those songs were already formed, and frankly, these guys play on it. Yeah, I mean, it's got my name on it, because he said, why don't you just go make a solo album? Because we were at let's go make a damn solo album. It's like, all right.
Thank you.
Can you want to play on it? So.
And then the last album on Spotify is labeled 1999. It looks like it kind of demos and rarities. It's small catches and ones that got away.
Yes.
There's one new song on there, that Song of the Ocean, right? That we put on the end, but it was basically a compilation from Dr. Gene all the way through 24 titles. It was a CDR basically, but I don't know, it did pretty well.
And frankly, one of the better ones, because Chris Ramey from Voodoo Lovement, he mastered it. And he did an awesome job of taking everything from the Dan Hetner studio all the way through Smart. And, we did the 24 titles in Milwaukee at Cornerstone, which had a really big sound. So to put all that together was like a miracle. He did a great job on it.
Yeah, Cornerstone was a lot of fun. Jeff and
Paul.
Yes, they really got a folk sound there, and just, I don't know, I really enjoy that record. It gets better every year for me. It's like Rebel Waltz was just kind of branching out, picking, it just felt like we were taking our sound different avenues. It still had the Rebel Waltz sound, but it seemed like we were branching out even more in different genres and trying new stuff. So that was a great period as well, I thought.
Yeah. That big studio experience was much better than Smart. Those guys were very much really behind us. It didn't really exactly. It felt like a customer at Smart, really.
Yeah, and they let us, if we had ideas, they took the time to let us try it, and it was a great experience.
Great. They participated, got that great keyboard part out of
Paul. I love it. I don't think he didn't even play it before. No. And it's just, he just banged it out. It's like, that, don't play it again. That's great.
So how did the band eventually come to a halt temporarily?
The way I remember it, I was bowling on Sunday night at Hans Lane's, and I think these two drove up to tell Scott and I that they didn't want to do it anymore. And that's how I remember it.
We definitely were at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
We definitely did meet up. I think it was already kind of planned that we were.
I blacked out.
I don't really know why we stopped. I don't actually know.
I don't either.
Violent.
No. We all had so many irons in the fire.
I think it wasn't that we stopped. We just kind of asked if we were going.
Well,
we decided we weren't.
Well, I guess one thing was my wife was going to have our son,
Oh.
and so I was in Alien Harvest, and I was doing Moral Disgust with Dave, and I was doing Rebel Waltz, and Bo was pregnant. So it's like, something has got to change here. Actually, we were doing Gym Warfare at that time, too.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Eventually, you guys stopped. For whatever reason, you stopped playing shows. Maybe you didn't officially break up. Everything just stopped. And eventually, your album, Rubber Walls, was it Mark Hillstrom or somebody decided they were going to re-release that album?
We had so many copies left because we ordered a ton to start with, and it was coming up on the 25th anniversary, and I thought it'd be a good time to redo the cover, and so I basically just ordered the covers and hype stickers and repackaged what we had left. Had these guys autograph the back of half of them, and released it for a record store day. I don't know, maybe almost 10 years ago. So that's how that came together. I just felt you need to make it right with the right cover, the way it was intended. And
because frankly, like we got here, you asked, people love the Rebel Waltz fights, and I said, well, there really wasn't fights, but there certainly was things, and that cover was always. I probably would have never left. I loved playing in this band, but then I got myself thrown out for it. Riot against the establishment for being so upset about that record cover, which I was very upset about. So
it was re-released with the fish cover that you guys
with the way it should have been.
right.
How was the feedback on that? And obviously that caused you guys to get back together and play some more shows.
It was a good reason to do that. 25th year. The feedback was very good. I thought it turned out great.
A lot of people really were happy to get the better record cover. Like, oh wow,
This is something I can keep.
Yep. Why didn't you do that initially? Well, that's not good enough.
The reissue Rubber Walls was released on Record Store Day.
Right.
Was it 2015? Was it?
Yeah, 2015.
Did you go out and buy a copy?
I kept a couple before I brought them to the store.
We had a
Sorry, guys, I owe you some money.
comment here. JJ, did you record the People Watching record, or do you remember that one?
Yeah, I do remember that one. That was a great little project, and I'm not gonna remember everyone's name in the band, but that was a kind of an obscure band. I'm not sure who would all know them, but it was a very cool project. The songwriter had some really good songs, and the band was really good. I really enjoyed that project. Hard to say much about it without having it play.
So
there was some unique things, so yeah, it was cool.
We got that comment from Ian Gilmore, who's a huge People Watching fan. So he said he was pretty sure that you recorded that.
If he's got a copy of that, I don't know how many of those. I don't think it was ever really produced. I don't know if it was produced on cassette. I didn't know if it ever made it out of if it was just a demo even. But I remember that.
As mentioned, you recorded hundreds and hundreds of bands. So.
They don't all. I won't remember them all, but that was a standout.
And besides People Watching, did you get bands that maybe would come through to record, and you thought, hey, this would be a good fit for Rebel Waltz to play with? Hey, do you guys want to play a show?
I don't remember how much cross-marketing went on that way offhand. I mean, most of the bands were coming in were younger than me by this point versus exactly so much peer. It was a lot of the young kids that were just trying their first bands in high school. And really what I had was just an affordable opportunity to crank it out without any too much demand. I didn't, make them do anything. I would let them try to get their sound, to something that was better than in the basement where nobody had really been out of before. So that led to some more collection of stuff that could be integrated to make recordings go better for everybody. But a lot of kids, a lot of high school bands, first bands, recordings.
I remember my favorite story you telling me was you're recording 1096 and he's in the control room. He's like, "What's going on out there? There's some noises coming through, and there's like a mosh pit in the room while they were recording."
1096 was an outstanding example of what's that called? Speedcore? Yeah. Songs that were 15 seconds long. I mean, I'd hit play and record and stand up to go outside and look at what they were doing, and they'd be done. Okay. I couldn't even rewind it slow enough to find the beginning of one song from the other. So short.
Steve McCaig said Brad Van Doggen. Steve McCaig.
Yeah.
Van Doggen. Yep.
And then he said Jeremy Wood is remixing it.
Wood.
So it sounds like it's kind of still living. It's going to get a reissue.
Yeah, they've got that's great. That's great. I look forward to hearing that.
So Steve McCabe, he's a big fan of Rebel Waltz. I mean,
he was in the band for 3 or 4 shows when we did the reunion shows.
Yeah, one of those was the Great Unknown
Sunset
Bash.
Park. Mm-hmm.
Yep, and
the night I almost died.
Dave said he would do the reunions, but he wasn't going to do all the reunions. He would pick and choose.
Just
so
the temperature-controlled shows.
So Tim, you said he almost died. It was a super hot.
We were playing at the bottom of the hill at Sunset Park, 6 o'clock, sun is coming right down. Played for an hour-ish, and I had to go up the hill to play at the amphitheater at 8 o'clock till midnight with the band I was currently playing in. So coming off of that hot, totally dehydrated, go up there and play. There was one point where for 2 songs I just laid on the concrete and played looking up at the amphitheater. I couldn't stand anymore. So thankfully the drummer had a big smart water and saved my ass.
It was so hot that day.
So hot.
So hot.
No
and so
coverage.
humid.
Did you guys have any other shows like that had a kind of a stressful situation to play at, or maybe a fan interaction or something that kind of shoved it off course?
Yeah.
All of them?
It was at Friendly Bar, Amro, was it?
Friendly Bar?
Friendly.
Jeez.
Yes.
This
Great
little
game.
little dive bar, and it's a separate bar and little area for bands. And there must have been maybe 15 people at the bar, and Paul Drury and Bo in the crowd. I think the 2 people.
That's all right.
That we knew.
So we're
all right.
playing all our original stuff and going over not so well.
Now, mind you, this worked everywhere else.
Yeah.
Been going fine.
And I think we had one guy literally come up wanting to fight the band. He fists up, and I think JJ was kind of staring him down.
I tried to chase him back, playing guitar at him.
Yeah. And did we break into Sweet Home Alabama?
We started doing that.
Yeah, or
they took that even
Sweet
worse.
Child of Mine or something.
We played
just to try to appease them.
Yeah.
And then we just got the hell out of there. Thank you, Paul Drury, for coming to the show.
We played our 2 bird songs. We were like, okay, no,
Yeah.
this is gonna be fine. And we break into some of the no, they weren't having none of it.
Oh, that's Monaco. We did that too, right? We were just playing bird songs just to get through it, I ended up facing. I turned around. I didn't want to face the crowd anymore, so I turned around and
It's
started
true.
playing to
He
the
did.
drummer.
Actually, that was
I was
Athelstan, but
done.
it's true.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's a couple of them that stick out.
How about this one?
The Friendly Bar.
We got on a lot of bigger shows at that time too, so we would play Kakana River Jam with whoever, the Bodines, and so you play, and then there's a big tent back there full of beer and snacks and porta potties, and then when the headliner showed up, starts with a B, they were like, nobody could be backstage anymore. Well, this isn't going to work for Obo Waltz. The beer's back there and the porta potties.
And the food they said we could
And the
have.
food said we can have. So we went out, they kicked us out, we went around, straight back in the other side. The tent was completely empty except for Ned the Dead.
Yeah.
And we sat there eating sandwiches and drinking beer with Ned the Dead.
Yeah, I remember saying, I don't think that Bodines like egg salad,
Yeah.
so I'll eat these.
And then we drove over their
Something.
bags. I think we drove over some of their bags on the way out.
Accidentally, that was just.
That was a total accident.
That was we were on the road.
It was
and
dark
so were
and they
their
were on the
bags.
road.
It was dark. It was 4 in the afternoon.
Well, darkness was setting in early in the van.
Was Ned the Dead in full makeup?
He was hilarious. Oh my God, yes.
We had a riot with
We
that
were
guy.
all on the same page, man. We just we used to watch this band at the B&B 3 years ago, and now they're big rock stars. You owe us a damn sandwich. So
Well,
yeah, we had
can't really
that.
blame it on the band. This is what happens when you get management.
Yeah, that happens.
They start treating other people
Social
different.
Distortion. We opened for them up in Green Bay when they're on Triple X or whatever. Come back the next year, they're on Epic or Sony, whatever, and they do a sound check that might still be going on right now.
If somebody didn't do
And
something.
some band needed to be kicked off the bill, and so we graciously volunteered that, and had some words with
Not
Mike
too
Ness.
graciously.
So I've got Mike Ness and Billy Corgan right now on the shit list.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite show that you played? Do you all have the same similar favorite show? I wonder.
That's a good question.
Boy.
I remember we opened for the Magnolias at the Unicorn one night. We played really great.
Yeah.
It was really packed.
I would say we could have a unicorn shows. One of them would always be
Yep.
on top. I thought for Green Bay shows, the Soul Sign was a pretty good show. as they go for the whatever opening ones that we got to do.
It's
we have
my
to
most
play
memorable,
through
my
everything.
favorite, even though I spent the entire set tuning. I watched the video and said, half the show is tuning my bass, but the crowd, it was just insane at Kutzkus Hall. So I would say, were they on the Hang Time tour? Or just, they were at
Just
the...
about on it.
And that's when people had
Those are
our
the
records
songs.
too, and so
Yeah.
people knew our music. And that always makes it fun.
I like to ask, do you guys wear earplugs when you play and when you practice?
What'd you say?
They're like little foam things that go in your ears.
Well, me and Dave are still playing together, right? So this is funny because we bought some earplugs for practicing in my basement, which is relatively loud, but I don't think either of us has used them yet. But we have them now.
I have them in my, I had them in my pocket, but my son, who's in the band, doesn't need to use earplugs at all. He religiously uses and he forgot his the other day, so he has mine now too.
Yeah.
That's fine.
So the DeGoey Moore Band, how did that get started?
Me and Bo were sitting around looking at pictures when it was COVID, right? And drinking beer in the basement, going through the photo album, and I found this picture of Dave and Pat Wanish, Depo Provera, and Steve Fay, Inner City Sasquatch, at Tim's wedding. And they all have the stupidest shirts on. Like, they went to Goodwill and bought them off the same rack. Like, they went together. So I texted Dave. I'm like, did you guys get these together? And he's like, ha, ha, ha. Let's do a band when COVID's over. That's what And then I knew his son was a good singer, so when it actually got time to put the band together, I thought, well, what do I want to do? Because I was doing Thunder Swan with Craig from the Catastrophe drumming. And so I was like, well, I don't want to just have more of my songs in another band for whatever reason. I thought, well, we'll have Dave's son sing songs because I write songs, but I can't sing them all, I'm not like these guys who can sing really good, so got Dylan to sing the songs.
Do you
It's
guys,
awesome.
During the shows, do you guys cover any Rebel Waltz?
We learned Enter the Sky, which
Yeah.
didn't ever get released.
Yeah.
But we have visions of
That's a
maybe
good one.
using that one and having you do your harmony.
Thank you.
Dylan loves your harmony on that. So
All right.
Tim, you wrote on your Facebook page a while back about the song Jack. You want to tell us about the story behind that song?
Sure. Jack Van de Castle was a Kimberly institution. He would walk around town all the time. And come up to people and ask them if they could stick their backbone out. And
can you stick your backbone out?
yeah, and or he had a couple other things. I don't know if I can say them on here, but one day I was living back in Kimberly again for a little bit in '87, and I went to Butch's Pizza to get a pizza, and I picked it up, and as I drove back, I saw Jack walking down the street, and it just came into my head. The song did, and I got back to the house, put the pizza down, knocked the song off. Literally, I couldn't keep up. It's as a songwriter, if you got the idea, sometimes you just try to get it down and and hope you can keep the thought long enough, and it just came flowing out, and the song was done in less than 10 minutes, and the pizza got cold, and it's still one of my favorites. Just how it came out. So yeah, he's still around. I think he's living in a home in Kimberly. Always wanted to meet him and get a picture with him and all. Like, this is Jack, but I don't see that happening.
Did Jack ever hear the song?
I don't know. That's a good question. Probably not.
As far as a lot of the other songs that you guys collectively wrote for Rebel Waltz, are there a lot of songs like that have that kind of a meaning that was pulled from your real life?
When
moments?
I wrote, it's more, being out and observing and just picking little stories and writing from that. Or it could be about, nothing about these guys or anything, but a person that at the bar, or just a situation that would lead to a song. And, I'd go home and write. I always wrote real late at night and come home with an idea and wake up in the morning, see if it still felt good, and give it to these guys, or throw it in the garbage can. One of the two, depending.
It was always a good thing too, like for our visual acuity, because Tim played the bass upside down. He was left-handed, and so it goes like this. And
Right.
yep.
Wait, let me stand on my head and figure that out.
Well, so I mean, as far as the songwriting goes, it sounds like it's just. But that was a song that came to you so quickly. I didn't know if any of the other songs were that quick.
Umbrella was that way. There's a few other ones. After five from 24 Titles, I was at Friends and Neighbors Bar, and we were with this girlfriend of ours who hung out with this group, and she's getting hit on left and right, and it just happened to be June 21st, longest day of the year. So it started off, welcome to the longest day of the year, and I'm just about all the wolves going after her, trying to get her, and just being there after 5 o'clock, and it just all came together very quickly. That's another favorite song of mine that came out super quick.
As far as favorite songs for you guys, if you guys could each pick your favorite song from Rebel Waltz, if you have to pick just one song you
Just one.
one song you enjoy the
How much
most.
time do we get?
I'm going to go with Top of the Hill. Great big fan of Top of the Hill. Good job on that
Thank
one.
you.
Jeff's got a good point, because now when you're deciding, it's like, do I pick somebody else's song or do I pick my own?
Well, he would never pick his own.
No, I really love Top of the Hill.
It's a great song.
Boy, tough call.
Dave?
Me? I like Coming True.
Good job.
Mainly
Andrew.
because it's kind of features me.
Well, you made it
That
your
is
own.
your song, yep.
I would just be impossible to pick one for me and believe it was the one.
Uh-huh.
Because I would change my mind in the next 2 seconds. I really would.
What's the number one right now?
I had Jobs That Don't Pay is probably a song that always goes through my head a lot, periodically in my mind. I even at times have thought I would play that in a dark folk style version. So I could say that the song that's always lingered in my head would be Jobs That Don't Pay, in a variety of ways.
Actually, when we started playing together, we were doing it as a
Yep.
folk song, a dark folk song.
Yep.
We gave up on it eventually, though.
Maybe that's okay. That's where I got the idea. I never strayed from the beginning.
Tim's been stressing over there.
I am stressing. Jack, Along the Way.
Not Just the Wind.
Just the Wind's great. I like the early, like Going Under Over You, the stuff, the Vanessa stuff, and we wrote Safe House together, which I love that. I love that song. And Dave, maybe it's just better that you do.
Pure Dave. It's pure Dave.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So is there any chance that we can see Rebel Waltz play again in the near future? I know you're good friends with Tom Smith, of course. I know he's been teasing the UFO lineup. Is there any chance, like if they were asked, that Rebel Waltz would perform at that?
Well, it's good. Obviously, comes down to me because like last time we played 10 reunion shows, right? And people and we did. But then I wanted to make new music, and so then I was like, okay, I will do another show if we have 6 new songs. Because we all have so many songs.
There might be one problem with doing another show.
Oh, Jay just only got one arm.
Yeah,
And he can't find his guitar.
the neck's broke.
The neck's broke.
Didn't I hear Dean Hoffman say he borrowed one of his guitars and he like strung it up weird or something? You guys are talking about it. You guys are talking about it at Redshift Headlights Rained Out show at Mile Music. Anyways,
I don't remember.
5th.
Momentary.
do you guys have any advice for bands that might be starting out? Young musicians that
Play
are...
original music. Don't do cover bands. I really do not like cover bands. Sorry, cover band people, but play original music. That's what this band was about, and that's what it's about,
Do you ever get a little upset when you hear people say, well, original music wasn't really played around here until Mile Music? When it's like there was a strong scene.
That
It was
is
just
certainly not true.
No.
Right, it was
That's
just
absolutely 100% not true.
Well, and it goes way back. You can go back into the 60s, and there was local Wisconsin Valley bands that were quite well known statewide. I mean, I'm thinking of Sunstone Lollipop off the top of my head.
Tom
For
Hansen
pop,
just
Blue
passed.
Tail Fly.
Yep.
Blue Tail Fly, which is also Tom Hansen, which is there was a bunch of those kind of bands. They weren't necessarily. Well, Sunstone Lollipop was a songwriting band. They put out original music in the late '60s. And that was
Shortly
Oshkosh
after that.
Brothers, DeCiani. In front of us we had Steve Trier and that generation of those guys.
East Side
all-
Kids and Micro and the
Steve-
Waves and Twist Knees and Second Childhood and Fun with Adams.
All those bands up in Green Bay,
They-
Suburban Mutilation. No
They set
Response.
us up. They set us up, and then we kind of ran with it and continues on.
Consider it like a big centipede, right? We were some of the legs in the middle, and there were certainly ones before us. There's certainly a lot after us now.
Certainly, we couldn't go up and down College Avenue back then and have a pick of a place we wanted to play. I mean, it was hard finding places, and thankful to like Thirsty Whale giving us a shot, and Green Bay was very
Jitters?
good. Yeah, Jitters. We played Jitters in '87, I think. So yeah, it was not always easy.
Well, the venues weren't available really yet. You're still coming out of the end of the generation of union musicians that were really, and clubs were all run that way. And so late 70s and 80s, that was just when it was all changed over how the economics of club work went, I think, too.
I've found over the last few years that people do remember us and what we've done around here and are appreciative of what we forged in the scene around here. And I'm not saying we're certainly not responsible for Mile Music by any stretch, but at least we were swimming against the how did Blaine say it?
I think Blaine,
The stream, yeah.
Blaine, I think Blaine.
Swimming upstream in the Fox River.
Something like that.
Well, I appreciate you guys doing this because, you were a huge part of the Fox Cities music scene, and I'm glad, Jeff, thank you for putting the catalog onto Spotify, but was it hard to kind of move the band because to almost have your place in history, you need to kind of be available, which that's kind of what the Spotify will do. It'll give the new generation a chance to listen to Rebel Waltz. But is it hard kind of trying to bring the band into like 2024 as far as the social media stuff? I know Rebel Waltz has a Facebook page. Is that something that you guys are going to spend more time on as far as keeping the band's legacy alive?
I kind of like the mystery of not doing it and maybe throw little tidbits out there. There's a lot. He's got a lot. I like booklets and there's a ton of stuff we could post. But
I agree too. I think you're right. What difference does it make if we claim some spot in history? Because me and Dave are about to start recording a new record again.
Right.
So just always keep moving on. I'm very happy that people remember the Rebel Waltz, and they do. People want to talk about it, and people want to have the records, and they listen to them. But also for us, it's more interesting to just keep making music.
Mm-hmm.
it's wonderful that almost 40 years later, we're doing this and feel very appreciated for our, the band and the time, and the music. It's very flattering.
Where can people find the DeGoey Moore Band?
Well, you could get a hold of Dave on Facebook and put our record out. That would help. So whatever you want to do to help out. We have the tunes. Yeah, Spotify. All that internet stuff. It's on there. So
That's the album right there, which came out last year.
Tommy Tozzi's art. Thank you, Tommy.
The last question I have for you guys, looking back on your career since 1985, what's the most significant moments or the milestones that stand out the most to you? And like, what if you could go back and just have a camera at one point, or a camcorder at one point during that time, what's the one moment that you're the most proud of?
All the friends I made doing this. So made so many friends, stayed at so many people's houses, drank so much beer with all of these great musicians we met, from Voodoo Loveman, Venison, Inner City Sasquatch. That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
I agree. The fraternity of it all really was, the most interesting people I've met. I would have never met without doing this.
Yeah,
And,
I would agree with both.
And that was what made it always fun. I mean, it really
Made for an interesting life, always meeting lots of new people.
Any parting words?
You can do covers if you do Sonic Reducer.
All rules are made to be broken, right? That's what Soul Asylum said. But if you generally can, do Sonic Reducer.